In 1970, Macmillan was made director of the company, and a period began of special creativity for him. Ballets like Anastasia, Manon, and much later, Mayerling and Gloria. It was a period of new stars, Sibley, Dowell, Seymour, new choreographers invited to create works for the company, Hans van Maanen, Tetley, the introduction of much more modern movement. It was a period when Ashton produced some of his most original and penetrating work, Enigma Variations back in the 60s, and then in 1976 created on Lynn Seymour and Anthony Dowell to music by Chopin and based on the Turgenev play, A Month in the Country. And then the future. What's in store? Well, certainly 2 rehearsal rooms in a new extension to Covent Garden, sorely needed to give for the first time adequate warm-up and rehearsal space in the Opera House, and avoid some, at least, of the constant travelling back and forth across the whole of London, to and from Barons Court. And as well as that, maybe a dream for a new theatre, specially designed for dance, next to the Opera House, if only the site can be saved for it.
We need a house that should be shared by the other countries of British dance, not just us. A house for dance activity from all over the world.
It should change our whole life.
If we could get a new type of audience to come and see us.
It'll give our dancers more opportunities as well. Must be built and must be put there, and that must be preserved as the site. I don't know who owes it to us, but I think it is owed to us. It's certainly owed to people like Martin de Vauer, who's created it from nothing.
I think this company has meant a standard which has more or less been accepted by the Western world, really.
For so long, living in Johannesburg, Margot Fonteyn and people like that were just pictures in a book that I had. It sounds corny to say it, but even today, I still look at those books that I have, and I can't really believe I've actually danced in that company.
What's been is so marvellous with the Royal Ballet is having so many tremendous creative influences here. This is what's so extraordinary, and this is how a company lives on.
Oh, well, it's been my life, yes. Marvellous. Well, that's it now. There's no more.
No more?
No. Well, okay, will you take him down?
You'll need to be taken because it's quite a long way away.
Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your half-hour call.
Half an hour, please. Thank you.
Can you come back in 5 minutes? We haven't sorted them out yet. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
is your 15-minute call, ladies and gentlemen. 15 minutes, please. Thank you.
Got enough wigs here to start the apartment.
So it'll look like a new husband tonight, will it?
That's it.
A gap.
This is your beginner's call, ladies and gentlemen.
Beginners for Isadora, Act 1, on stage now, please. Ladies and
And
gentlemen.
sing, comrade, sing.
Ladies
To
and
the
gentlemen.
audience.
To the audience.
In an English accent?
Yes.
God, you're gorgeous.
Then it looks like we've met before.
Julian Hosking as Isadora's great love, the designer Edward Gordon Craig, with Merle Park in her role as Isadora. In the next day or so, there was to be a lot of criticism for Isadora, but there was also praise. And it hadn't been a revival, but a new and original work that had begun the celebrations for the Royal Ballet's 50 years. In the spirit of what's perhaps so good about this company. Not just the grand tradition, but what's new.
Only one or two.
And so the curtain was now down, And that first performance over, and the anniversary season launched. And then next day, in a sense, you see, it all began again.
Her wealth. It was the ships based at her port Piraeus that made her a great sea power. And as her influence grew, another unique concept was maturing, a radical new philosophy with far-reaching consequences. The people of ancient Athens had this great idea, really unknown since the first cities and states were formed. A society could be run just for the benefit of its citizens, and it could be run by the people. Not yet all the people. Women, slaves, foreigners and children didn't yet count. But it was an idea that would change the world. Athens' enduring reputation as the cradle of democratic government still draws people today. The star attraction is the Parthenon, which was both a temple and a treasury for the city's money. That money paid jurors and councillors, built a navy, and maintained the army. These were collective acts made on behalf of and approved by a citizen's majority.
You could well say that coinage and democracy are fundamentally interlinked. It is difficult to imagine a democracy functioning as the Athenian democracy did without the existence of coinage. Because Athens was a radical democracy and paid people for performing the functions that a democratic state required of them, that is, serving in the law courts, serving in the council, serving in the assembly, coins were needed in large numbers, but they were also needed in small denominations. You needed a lot of small coins in order to pay these people. This, of course, meant a lot of small value coins entering circulation and a lot of people carrying coin in a way that perhaps we would recognize today as we would have a society that was monetized.
Take the rocks out first, then we'll start going into the layer.
And nowhere did that coinage circulate faster than it did here, in the marketplace called the Agora, now being excavated in the heart of Athens. This team is led by John Camp, one of the American archaeologists who've been working on this site since the 1930s. they've rebuilt one of the market's arcades. It would once have been full of people shopping and gossiping. Beneath it lies a basement full of Athenian treasures.
The Agora in most Greek cities was basically the center of town in all respects, political, commercial, social. This is where they came to gather and meet their fellow citizens. It's the heart of the city. It probably would have been pretty crowded and pretty lively around all sides of the square. You'd find the buildings you needed to run the city on a day-to-day basis. The Senate building, the Archive building, the Magistrate's office, the law courts, the Mint. Pretty much everything you needed was somewhere around. And if you were an Athenian citizen, you probably had some business here of one sort or another virtually every day. In the immediate vicinity, we hear of booksellers, we hear of fishmongers, we hear of perfume dealers, there are wine shops. All these are either attested in the written sources or we found the physical evidence in the excavations. So anything you wanted to buy, you'd come somewhere to this area.
Thousands of artifacts show the extent of the market's business. Like these jars, which would have been filled with olive oil or wine. Visitors from outside the city were said to be agog at the sheer spectacle of the Athenian Agora, unlike anything the ancient world had ever seen. But its bustle was well ordered.
The marketplace was controlled in that there were weights and standards. There was a Bureau of Standards. The quality of the coin